Hi everyone, welcome. Today it's our 20th AVC Subcommittee meeting. We are already in week 4. So today's focus on is stability scope. We have some special announcement before we begin, but let me go to the next slide. Well, this is as always I'm going to share our notion with all the information from Sovereign Finance AVC. So there you have it. If this is your first time, there you can find all the useful information to understand more of our work. And I see a lot of familiar faces. Thank you for coming in. And as always, if you appreciate our work and share our values, be an aligned delegate of our Sovereign Finance AVC. You can find also our aligned governance strategy document in our Notion. This 20th AVC subcommittee meeting has been organized and prepared by the 2 members of Sovereign Finance AVC, Sid Latham and OX Root. And these are the topics for today. Before I mention this, there is something else today as well. In just a couple of hours and 3 hours, we have our 4th call in Spanish. We are really happy about it. And so if anyone speaks Spanish or not would like to join us, that's going to be at 10 p.m. UTC. If you want to know our Latin community, we're going to be discussing what's been happening in these last 2 months, the most relevant information from Maker, from the scopes, from the subDAOs, from the work that we've been doing. So that's going to be. That's the first thing. And calls, we have seen Kianga for refi. We have seen retro from SES. So it doesn't matter if you really don't understand Spanish, but you want to connect with the Latin community, you can join us. Well, having said that, these are the topics for today, since it's stability scope, which personally is one of the more complex scopes. We have invited a guest to explain us about his insights on the Atmos proposal and how balancers technology can be beneficial for Maker. As always, a big shout out to our 80s, to Blue, Clocky, Palk, for sharing their comments on this scope. We have also are going to discuss this later. And those are like the main topics. So before we start with our guest, before I am going to give like a very simple context of what's been happening. And then Mike, which is also here and already here, thank you for your time, is going to give us his presentation. So before that, yes, I'm going to like explain in a very briefly way. We have, of course, a proposal that is being shared by Jadmas on the forum that it's involved improving mechanisms that impact security, tokenomic aspects, capital efficiency. And let's go further into this. So he's been sharing 4 posts explaining in detail about this. I am going to share it here. So this is all the post so far about the proposal. And let's just start with the first post, which very briefly I'm going to say this about the usage of DAI, its efficiency, the losses incurred, and the advantages of using ETH as a pairing. So this, what do you think about this? About switching to ETH? Um, because this suggests that using ETH as a pairing for MKR token, we believe that it is a better performance. It's would make like more appealing for LPs. Um, and then the second post, which is also the one that I'm showing the slides about. Okay, so let's bring the problem. There is a concern that the proposed model of using MKR tokens as collateral for DAI loans isn't good for the system. Well, we actually believe that it's a good idea. Of course, with the right conditions, um, and that we believe that any asset could work as collateral as long as the rules are well designed. In this particular post is also it's about the quality of collateral and how this depends on how easily this can be traded. So using MKR as collateral might reduce its trading activity, and this of course could lead to to problems. Um, Here we are in mentioning about the case of CRV, which has most of its tokens locked up, and this makes it volatile and it makes it not suitable for use as collateral. So we it is mentioned this specific case since we want to avoid a situation where MKR becomes like CRV. So what's the proposal? What's the solution? Well, instead of using MKR directly, let's use an LP token, and we mentioned in here VBOL, which is this is Mike is going to explain a little bit better about the 80 ball 20 with like 80-20 strategy. And well, I mean, this way MKR holders can keep their assets locked, but maintain liquidity, uh, which is of course important for stability. Now, some of benefits from this proposed approach. First is that there's going to be more liquidity, less price volatility, the potential for earning extra rewards, and lower risk of losses due to price change. Now, let's focus on the next part that it's about improving governance. So with this proposal, governance can be improved by bringing in more liquidity and linking it to governance decisions. here also to mention about um, how this, let's say, like more in simple terms, this is in order to use MKR tokens as collateral for loans, and how this is important to maintain liquidity. Of course, using like a different approach with the token I just mentioned to keep assets locked while also ensuring liquidity in order to, as I mentioned before, to improve to governance and generate um, profits. So I'm not gonna get into very technical stuff since that's why we have Mike in here. So I encourage everyone, I encourage all ecosystem actors that I guess that and also understand way better to comment, to get feedback, to ask questions, so we can get the most relevant information that could help us improve our proposal and in general improve the scope. So I'm gonna go back to Mike. Thank you for being here. Now it's your the stage is yours. First, I would like you to give us a brief introduction, comments about your background, and then please start explaining why. I mean, on Jadman's proposal and your insights about it. Why balancers technologies can be beneficial for Maker. I don't know if you have any slides prepared. If not, it's okay. Let me know.
Yep. I don't have any visuals, so I'll just get talking. Hi, everyone. My name is Mike B. I have been working with Balancer for over 3 years. I'm a longtime DEX maximalist. I have been working in DEXs ever since 2015 when atomic swaps were a thing back in Bitcoin. So I like to think I'm pretty educated about the space of on-chain market making. I've been working with Jadmat and his team on potentially using Balancer technology in the Maker ecosystem as it transitions to endgame. So yeah, with that introduction, I'll just kind of get into it. Bouncer is a customizable, generalized AMM with the ability to quickly build new pool types on a safe, battle-tested base layer called the Bouncer Vault. I'm here to voice my support for the proposals that Jadmat has put up thus far. So the first topic that Jadmat brought up is the proposal to replace the Maker DAI UniV2 pool in the Elixir module with an 80-20 pool made up of Maker ETH. I know there are a lot of people on both sides of the argument, some people arguing that it's good to have DAI paired with Maker, but I think it's evident that there are possible scenarios in which DAI depegging could negatively affect the Maker DAI pair to the point where it's no longer able to be utilized as an efficient liquidity source or as a security layer to help restore DAI peg. In addition, there is a large and permanent loss risk of the Maker DAI pair simply due to the two assets being uncorrelated. Every time the price of Maker moves, even in line with the greater market, it will result in LPs exposing value for arbitrageurs to pick off. Pairing Maker with a correlated asset exogenous to the Maker ecosystem, in this case ETH, could have beneficial effects from a risk management point of view, as there's now guaranteed liquidity that is entirely separate from the state of DAI in its peg. Speaking from a personal perspective, I actually don't think that having a Maker DAI UniV2 pool is really that efficient to help on-chain DAI liquidity, given how ubiquitous it is across DeFi as a stable quote asset. There's basically DAI in every stable swap out there for the most part. So, and ETH is definitely one of the most liquid on-chain assets, and it routes easily to other major assets. So, allowing Maker to be paired with ETH would allow Maker to be directly routed across various major asset classes just by being paired with ETH. So yeah, and another proposal to go over is Jadmat's enhanced Sagittarius engine, which helps solve the issue of on-chain Maker liquidity by replacing single stake Maker with an 80-20 pool of Maker ETH. The 80-20 pool has an exposure quite similar to just holding Maker on its own, assuming Maker and ETH remain relatively correlated. I can post an impermanent loss calculator in the comments after this if you want to play around with the numbers. But in a scenario where Maker gets locked up in a single-sided manner to participate in governance, there's less liquidity for Maker available on the market. This means as governance participation increases, the liquidity of Maker could actually decrease, which I consider problematic. This is along the lines of what happened with Curve, where most of the supply was locked up in Vague Curve, and Curve had to separately incentivize Curve liquidity at great cost to the total protocol emissions. And that means LPing with Curve sort of always had an opportunity cost of doing so because it wouldn't be locked. And that liquidity obviously dried up when they got hacked. It didn't have to be a hack, though. It could have easily just been the LPs just withdrawing because they're free to withdraw at any time they want. And it's probably likely that LPs would withdraw in times of great volatility. So what happened was that there was basically no Curve liquidity left on chain, which meant that all protocols that had Curve as collateral were in a very bad place since they would be unfit to perform liquidations. Luckily, it never really got to that point, but I think we can all really imagine how bad it would have been had that actually happened. Had it hit the liquidation price on these major protocols, you would have had Aave left with a lot of bad debt. And obviously, with Maker CDPs having bad debt really is not a good thing because it threatens the DAI peg. So if the 80/20 enhanced Sagittarius engine becomes a standard means of participating in Maker governance, it means that liquidity will actually increase as participation in governance increases. On top of that, that liquidity would be guaranteed because it's locked. This means that people can't really withdraw it the moment there's a little bit of volatility. It means that that liquidity will always be there on chain, and you can kind of almost see it akin to protocol owned liquidity for a short period of time since it is forcibly locked. That guarantee would allow for more flexible parameters on the CDP module, given the guaranteed on-chain liquidity of Maker, which allows for greater capital efficiency for those participating, which I think we can all agree is a good thing. Another thing too is Maker can also control the swap fee on the 80/20 pool, which can allow for greater flexibility for various market conditions. Making an 80/20 pool core to governance participation has worked very well for Bouncer and other projects like Aave, Radiant, and many others. We have over $100 million of on-chain liquidity without having to spend a dime of additional incentives, which I think is pretty powerful. For those a little bit scared about getting into the 80/20 model, it's possible to have a sort of like a dual model where some governance is single staked and some of it is 80/20 staked. That's what Aave did. That's what Paraswap did, and it can provide better flexibility from a participant perspective. To summarize, if this model were to go into place, there would always be sufficient on-chain liquidity to liquidate Maker through a pool with an asset that is exogenous to the Maker ecosystem, which can help partially segregate the risk of DAI depegging for Maker liquidity. And given how much Maker and DAI are already so inherently connected, I think the segregation of risk is a desirable property. Additionally, Bouncer has a program to supply projects integrating 80/20 governance systems with a pool of BAL for free, so they can begin directing BAL emissions to their governance system, which will obviously be a source of revenue for Maker if they were to do this for free. And yeah, that's sort of where I stand on the 80/20 thing. Yeah, I have another topic to discuss too, if it's apt to do so. But if anyone has any questions on any of that, I would love to hear it. Highly recommend reading Jedmat's proposal. It's very in-depth. I try not to go too into detail about it, but yeah, very cool stuff.
There are some comments on the chat. Let me. Publica says, I think BAL 80/20 has experienced exactly what the presenter is currently describing. That CRV pool was controlled by one individual. Well, the mercy of one individual. Would you like to add more details into this?
Sorry, what's the question?
It was not a question, it was more the comment about the BAL 80/20 on the CRV pool. I don't know if you can see the chats.
Yeah, what chat am I looking at?
Let me give you the link.
Oh wait,
well, otherwise,
all right, I found it. I'm not really sure I understand what's being asked.
Oh, if you could give us more details on the BAL 80/20.
Okay, yeah. So
this could help.
So the way Bouncer works is we have a VAE system, and in order to participate in directing emissions through holding BAL, you have to basically deposit into an 80/20 pool. And then that 80/20 pool is locked just like Curve is on their side. and you get all the power of governance that you would through a normal based system by basically locking that 80/20 token. So instead of providing DAO to lock, you're providing an 80/20 pool token to lock, and that's how emissions are directed. And that means that we do not need to incentivize BAO liquidity because it is inherent to the system. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I hope that gives a little bit of insight on sort of how it works.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, actually, I forgot to mention at the beginning, but yes, like if there is like I know that you understand it pretty well, and a lot of people in here understand it way better. So yes, that's why I was gonna ask. I asked again to kind of like in more simple terms, but yes. Sabonapolica says my point being that about 80/20 took a lot of losses in 2022 and slippage. I know quite a
I
few
mean,
people are in the pool.
I think that's probably due to the BAO price going down as opposed to any sort of impermanent loss. I'm pretty sure impermanent loss has been relatively minimal in that pool. Obviously, if you're providing liquidity in a pool with tokens that go down in price, there's no magic formula that can save you from that. Um, but yeah.
There was also okay, so this is about it's a priority for Sophie AVC. It's like it's more like a long-term idea, but we're like starting with data, with a lot of research. Actually, that's also in Jatma's post about he's been making. I mean, they're making like a huge research on this, and so it's I wouldn't say it's more of a short term. I wouldn't. And yes, so PB says Jetma has been conducting research, on how to improve the proposed new mechanism. It is just bringing different alternatives and points of view on how things can be done. Exactly, it's not a short-term priority. I mean, this is not like an easy task or research, so no. See, there are people typing. I'm pretty sure there are more questions since the whole point about this is like actually with the current model that Maker has and how this change, of course, why would it necessarily to change. Let me read Marian's comments. Oh yes, that's exactly what we believe. There's also Bonapublica that is typing. And also I am going to we have some slides about this. Let me go. This was the one that I did explain, or kind of. Okay. So is there anything that you would like to add about this specific when it says like unit V2 die MKR can effectively over collateralized die in a DPEG scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious that in scenarios where DAI were to depeg, your source of protocol and liquidity that is paired with DAI would also become imbalanced, and you would be in a worse off position than if you had exogenous assets within that pool. That's like just like a math thing. If the price goes down in a pool, you have more of that asset. So the pool would basically accumulate DAI, and you would have less like hard assets to be able to help with the recovery of DAI.
Well, thank you. I don't know if there's any other comment on what Mai has mentioned. And how would you see so far smart burn engine, what we know, and then Hans Sagittarius engine?
Yeah, I mean, it's an option from a mechanism design point of view, how you want to sort of balance the sort of disincentives in the system. I think a governance exit fee is one of those ways to do it. it's really that sort of isn't really something I can advise too much on, because it really depends on how you guys set up your sort of tokenomics system. But yeah, governance exit fee would definitely be a source of revenue for the rest of the holders, and it sort of encourages people to stay participating in governance. And I believe JadMat brought up the possibility of potentially using that governance exit fee as a means of bribing to get more incentives on the pool. But that is really dependent on how you guys want to go about strategy.
Yes, we encourage everyone actually to read throughout Jadman's posts about the proposals and give feedback about it. Now, another question is about, can you tell us more about the success cases in protocols that implement in this 80-20 strategy?
Yeah, so obviously Aave has been doing it for a couple of years and it's worked out well for them. I believe they have a dual model, which also allows for staked Aave on its own. I would say the most impressive recent case of a 80-20 really taking off has been Radiant Finance on Arbitrum. They've managed to acquire over $40 million in liquidity on Arbitrum by basically making this 80-20 pool inherent to their tokenomic system instead of just locking up Radiant. So they were able to acquire, it's actually almost $50 million now of Radiant ETH liquidity without having to spend a dime on incentives, and it makes sure that everyone who is participating sort of has a leg in the game, so to speak.
That is important to know what other like success cases has been. So yes, that's great. Now let me read about one comment. Clocky says borrowing against MKR will be conducted with highly cautious parameters, prioritizing risk aversion. That's I think that's the goal. There has been like a lot of issues so far as well about this. So, and then we have another question from Blue. It says, any proposals for us to mitigate the risk if we end up sticking with the MKR as collateral plan?
I mean, I would say this proposal does help mitigate the risks by guaranteeing on-chain liquidity. I mean, the real issue comes when you have to liquidate that maker, and if you're not able to find anyone who's willing to take it, then it sort of degrades the backing quality of DAI. So I would say that having sufficient on-chain liquidity is probably the best thing you can do in order to make Maker a better collateral asset.
Okay, alternatives. Okay. Potential. Do you want to comment on this or any potential alternatives about this having, or do you stick up with Jetman's proposal?
I mean, I think the alternatives would just be either more conservative risk parameters. That's obviously one alternative to keeping Maker safe as collateral. Another option would be to acquire a lot of protocol and liquidity, make sure there's, I really, as I said earlier, I think having Maker liquidity on chain is the single best thing you can do to make Maker a better on chain collateral asset. And any way you go to approach that problem is sufficient in my view. And also you could do like caps and stuff, like have a borrowing cap, supply cap to make sure that it never gets out of hand.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I don't know if there's any other question. Well, if not, well, that would be it. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to mention that it's relevant and you haven't said it yet, but it's about Jadma's proposal.
I do have one other proposal I would like to draw attention to is the Smarter Burn Engine proposal by PBJ. Let me just post this in the chat real quick. I'm not sure if this guys falls under your responsibilities, but I would just like to touch on it while I'm here in the Maker Discord. Basically, this guy has created a project that has built a functional TWAM, time-weighted automated market maker, on top of Bouncer, according to the specifications from the famous Paradigm TWAM paper from years ago. They work like a normal AMM, with the exception of being able to essentially make DCA-style orders in a programmatic way without having to split the orders up to get best price execution. So basically, it does suborders in between blocks. You make it; they call it long-term swaps. You make a swap, and over the next X amount of blocks, it will slowly go from one asset to another without you having to poke the pool at all. And I know that Maker does a lot of on-chain sort of market operations. And in the proposal by PBJ, he notes that Maker was spending six figures on gas to execute some of these buyback transactions, and there had previously been some parameter changes to reduce the frequency of the buybacks to curb high gas costs. And I think utilizing a TWAM, Maker can forego these parameter adjustments and achieve high granularity execution without being constrained by high gas costs. I think that they're really the optimal way to TWAP on chain, and they don't require split execution. I just recommend everyone giving that proposal a read over, because I think it's kind of gone under the radar so far. And then, yeah, just to finish everything up from my side, Bouncer is very happy to support the MakerDAO ecosystem with whatever needs you guys might have. Like I mentioned, we are a very flexible AMM, and we would be willing to work with you guys to do whatever it takes for your liquidity needs. We have a lot of technology to work with, and there's really no project doing as much on-chain mechanism design innovation as MakerDAO is right now. So if anyone is interested in discussing AMM designs, integrations, or further tokenomics discussions, please feel free to reach out to me on Telegram at MikeIsBallin. I'll post my @ in the chat. And thank you, everyone. And thank you, JadMat, for his in-depth proposals. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for your time, and thank you for sharing this. We're going to dive further into PVJ's post, and probably we can get I don't know if merge them, but it's gonna be interesting to have more insights that could be beneficial also to our proposal. Uh, Everyone, Mike has written in the chat his Telegram user. So if you have any further questions about this or in general, please reach out. And again, thank you so much for your time, Mike. I'm gonna read some comments about here. It says Venepolica that TWAMM concept's interesting. I'd like to see an ecosystem actor build it or the end game for the grown up. Let's make this a thing. Let's make it happen. And yeah, shout out to Jatman for his research. I'm gonna read a comment. He says original mechanism. SE proposes single MQR. The proposal enhance SE seeks to mitigate risk by maintaining liquidity and giving graded quality to MKR. Yes, please. It's if you want like further detail, it's very explained Jadma's post on the forum. So there. Now we're gonna move on. Okay. Let's go now to our 80s comments. So let me share first from Blue comments about this scope. And I want to point out in here about, you remember we had a call with Alan Peterson from Monetalis a few weeks ago. And if you haven't, we recommend you to watch it. I'm going to share the link in here. And he has made some comments about this that we would like to work more into this. So this is regarding the new policies, procedures, and guidelines, the PPG. So he kind of, well, in Blue comments, they gave us their insights on the comments that Alan mentioned during the the call, and we're gonna work further into this because I think I might say that it's obvious. It's that from Sovereign Finance AVC, we believe that everything should be, or they will be improve the transparency, communication. So there's something that we are very involved in. So this is something that we're going to bring and dive deeper. And so we're gonna work on this video if you would like also to to work with us in this particular topic. That'll be great. Um, this is one thing. And then from, or I don't know if there's anything in particular that would like us to dive deeper. Also in the comments, let us know. And now from Clocky's public document, we have some questions or in comments, Clocky, that we would like far more information about this and your insights also. So thank you for sharing it with us. Now, let's move on to Pug, and uh, we're going to focus on this. We are actually quoting from Pug's document, and it's the DAI stable coin. It's stable relative to a reference asset. Currently, this asset is the US dollar, but I believe that MakerDAO should finance research to explore other alternatives. Pegging to the US dollar presents certain regulatory risks to the DAO, which could be mitigated by considering other reference assets. So, and please, Palk, if you would like to dive further into this, please go ahead. But this is a question for everyone. What other assets could be considered as reference, and if there are specific ones that come to mind for mitigating regulatory risks? And so we agree with this. That's why we're mentioning diversifying the reference assets for DAI stability. It could be a wise move. It could help Maker reduce exposure to, we all are aware about regulatory risk uh, and with a US dollar. So it's important to think in long term and consider different assets, especially in quickly in a very quickly changing financial landscape. And so we believe that this diversification could potentially make DAI even more resilient. Um, and well, something else to mention about this is maybe that while the US dollar is a strong reference, and a lot of people from Latin America we would do consider as a strong reference. And exploring alternatives is a smart strategy. It could enhance the overall stability and flexibility of the DAI stablecoin. So, is there anything? What first of all, what do you believe? What do you believe about this? About Pulse Common, and if there's any other asset that you could consider, please write it on the chat. Oh, okay. So there's in the chat. Are the questions in the comments of the Google? Yes, yes, Clocky. They are in the Google document. You can respond it on the document on our Discord channel, the way you prefer. You can tag us. I would say that it's better if it's in the document. That will be great. Thank you. Um. Oh, no. Luces will also work it. Oh, perfect. You also want to work it in with the keys. Good. Good. I'm gonna read Dadma's comment to this is to our 80s. Well, Bona Public as well. If you are interested in moving forward with these ideas, you can comment on any of the 4 proposals in the forum. As they say, there is still time for the phase where these mechanisms could be applied, but dedicating time to study and investigate. Yes, study and investigation of the main mechanism is key to the health and efficiency of the protocol. So please, everyone that is very interesting, and more importantly, that I'm pretty sure that a lot of you understand way better. So please ask questions and give feedback, continue debating, as Jadman mentioned in his comment on the chat. Okay, Flatpal says it's an open question, so if anyone would like to answer to this or to think about it, Paul says the author states that the DAO stablecoin must have predictable stability related to a suitable reference asset, which can be a widely adopted world currency or diversified basket representing the cost of goods or other relevant metrics or of stability and utility as a currency. Paul, do you have any other asset in mind that could be a good option? I'm going to move on to our next part, which is about the MakerDAO parameter adjustment. And first, I'm going to share the forum post from the BA Labs team. I see, perfect. Palk is typing. And this is 2. So these are topics that we find it relevant for this scope. That's why I'm mentioning in here. So the first one is related to the PSM, to the peg stability module, and how there is this USDP, PSM, and debt sailing. With this sum of everything, it's increased from 0 to 120 million. And in this post proposes this particular change, and then about the removal or the offboard the wreath A bolt type from Maker Core. That basically this is a specific type of bolt that involves real estate tokenized assets, and of course the decision to of core it's based on a specific criteria or requirements. What's the thing is that currently REIT A is missing about 12.29 million DAI debt to match the revenue share it should have compared to WST ETH volts based on their market value. So I don't know if anyone would like to share a comment into this. We mentioned it because for us it's relevant to point it out. And also that the REIT A debt would need a 47.11% increase to meet this the minimum criteria. Other topics. Okay, Paul said there are no options right now. I would support perfect. I would support conducting research on alternatives. Oh, Jadman says the right case maybe makes sense. What everyone thinks about this. Okay. Then about the the parameters adjustments, as always, the base rate to 4.45%, the DAI saving rate to 4.20, the EDSR 5%, the ETH bolt type stability fee that it has been increased by 1.55%, WBTC bolt types S fee increased by 0.06%, REIT A of board for Maker Core that remains in the Maker ecosystem, and REIT supply cap on Spark that is also increased from 20K to 60K. We also put in here about the DAI multi-chain update. The first allocator DAO deployment outside Ethereum. This was deployed back in early October, and the launch is the launch of SDAI from Gnosis chain that was, I think, one of the let's say like most, I don't know if success, but was really interesting to see this happening. So I don't know if anyone wants to comment or have tried this. Also, let us know. And then about the first protocol to provide a front end, Agave, and the Spark protocol introduced after Agave. Okay, so in the comments, Paul says, I understand the scalability trade-offs though, but I believe that regulation are a high risk and we should be prepared. Yeah, regulations are a high risk everywhere, more specifically, I think in the US with everything that is happening. So yeah, that must be something that we should be I mean we should be prepared and taken care of. Okay, then we have the Spark deployment, which announced launch on Polygon CK EVM, introducing NDT and SNDT that it's set for the first quarter in 2024. The token bridge, which is phase 0, and we have here's a summary. New chains to use standards canonical token bridge. Before new stable launch, connect DAI and optionally SDAI via canonical token bridge. L1 DAI DSR yield usage is up to the domain team. After NST launch and SNST, their interest bearing NST, receiving DSR is recommended for protocols. Venice Labs to provide DSR Oracle for UI conversion and support for legacy tokens. Well, here we have the first phase, that is the permissionless implementation. And we here talk about the deploy of new Parlant on the remote change in collaboration with the chain's dev team. Then we have the admin access to the Spark executive proxy in Ethereum to reduce user risk. Before new stable launch, to add DAI market using the DSR Oracle for rate updates. And after new stable, two markets, the SNST as long and the WSNST as collateral. Another asset, which is of course commonly ETH, it's required with a Chainlink compatible Oracle feed. Chain makers strongly urge to create liquidity via temporary deposits, yield farming, etc. Then we continue with the second phase, or phase number 2, which is Sparkline Conduit implementation. And this is to activate the cross-chain conduct model, allowing allocator DAO to deposit and withdraw from implemented Sparkline instance. And the last topic will be the Smartbird engine transaction analysis. This is from these specific dates, from August 1st to October 5th. And well, basically, this is the documentation provided from the forum. And yes, so this, what says is that drop mainly due to reverse surplus not exceeding the 50 million threshold, which activates the Smartbird engine. And the current Smartbird engine activity, which is the transactions below the theoretical accumulation rate, surplus buffer, it's below the 50 million DAI threshold. And about the performance and impact, the Smartbird engine activity impact decreasingly as liquidity pool grows. Parameters optimized to reduce cost up to 30% in MKR prices. And when it comes to parameter sensitivity, bump parameter below the threshold for profitability, MBE activity even during sudden MKR price drops. Optimal parameters highly influenced by ETH price and gas costs, suggesting BAM increases might reduce estimated losses if ETH price and network activity rise. Okay, so these are some news that we and our ADs consider that it's relevant to also mention. These are from past few weeks in the forum. So the first one is about GFX Labs has put forward the MIP 102C SP18, and this basically aims to provide clarity on the definition of a stable asset in relation to arranger fees. And as well, it proposes a slight modification to the definition of a cash stablecoin. Recently, BAP shared a risk assessment and parameter recommendations for Sparkland on Polygon CK They also provide an update on market conditions, highlighting a consistent supply of both CRV USD and Go. Additionally, BA Labs conducted a second analysis of Smartbird engine transactions, highlighting that the surplus buffer's fluctuation below the $50 million limit was constraining the Smartbird engine. And as well, they published their 6 stability scope parameter change, with the notable adjustment being a 155% increase in ETH ball stability fees. We also, in just some minutes ago, um, mentioned it in detail. And about Stayhouse, share details about the USDP PSM facilitation incentives, providing clarity on the incentives that will be received based on the balance in the USDP PSM. Something related, we also mentioned it in here. Okay. Well, inspired by sovereign finance AVC Q3 Alliance co-proposal document. This is Pulse MIB 102C2 SP19, and so we have this MIP component 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The second component regulates the Atlas interpretation process. Component number 3 regulates the scope artifact appeal process. Number 4 regulates the alignment conserver the recognition process. Number 5 establishes the requirement for AVCs to be considered active and what happens and how to become inactive. And number 6 establishes how ADs should change an AVC they follow. So this is it. Again, we have for open comments our Q4 draft with our proposals that we're working on for this quarter. So I'm gonna share the link again. Well, I see some comments on the chat. I don't know if there's any other topic that you want to bring up before we finish the call. This is the moment. Oh, something else, to our specifically to our 80s. Not of course not for the next scope. That's okay because that will be too short. But I mean to previously with no further time to mention to you. But from the governance scope, the next governance scope, please, and we're going to also mention this probably in the chat, in the general chat. If you could send your comments, your feedbacks on each scope before Monday, if that's okay. I repeat, this is not for next week's scope. This is for governance scope, which let us time for like prepare and everything. So that way we can include more of your proposals, so that we can, it could be improve the work that we're doing. And so if it's clear, please let me know. Also, this is going to be added on the general chat. I repeat again, for the governance scope, which is in 2 weeks, it would be better if you could send us your public documents prior Monday, like before Monday. That would be great, since we finish our slides Monday, Tuesday, so that way we can include them. And well, there's no comment, so that will be all for today's scope. And see you. I hope you can also join us for our Spanish call. No, that's okay. See you next week. We have our last scope, accessibility. So that will be all. Before Monday would be Friday or Sunday. No, Sunday. Thank you for asking that question, Paul. Sunday, it's perfect. So that will be all. Thank you all. Bye bye.